The internet was built on a promise: connection. A digital web designed to shrink the world, turning strangers into neighbors we carry in our pockets. They are the architects of a new kind of community, one that exists everywhere and nowhere at once. For creators, it's a global stage accessible from a bedroom corner. It's a career path forged from personality, where the product being sold is a curated version of oneself. Millions watch, comment, and follow, becoming not just an audience but the very currency of success. A like becomes applause. A comment, a conversation, a direct message, a backstage pass. These are the new handshakes of digital celebrity. This constant interaction fosters a powerful one-sided bond, the parasocial relationship, where fans feel a genuine friendship with a person they've never met. The unwritten rule is authenticity. Creators are coached by algorithms to be relentlessly accessible, sharing their morning coffee, their heartbreaks, their triumphs. They blur the lines between their public persona and private self, inviting millions into their lives until fans feel less like followers and more like confidants. It's a powerful tool, but it erodes the boundaries needed for safety. This is where we meet Morgan Thompson. Before she was unstoppable Morgan, she was a young woman in a quiet town, seeking connection. With a secondhand webcam, a cheap microphone, and an infectious love for video games, she started streaming from her bedroom, not for fame, but for a place to belong. Her appeal was her vulnerability. She laughed at her own mistakes, celebrated small victories, and created a space that felt like a friend's basement. She remembered usernames and started inside jokes, turning anonymous viewers into a digital family she thought she could trust. Her channel grew steadily, then a single viral clip catapulted her into the algorithm's favor. The growth became exponential. Unstoppable Morgan was no longer just a screen name, it was a brand, complete with merchandise, sponsorships, and the crushing weight of expectation. As her fame grew, Morgan doubled down on intimacy. She hosted marathon Quanda sessions, sharing personal stories and photos. She felt a deep loyalty to the community that built her, but in a crowd of thousands, not every friend has good intentions. She was building a dossier of her life for anyone watching. The traditional walls between performer and audience had crumbled. For Morgan, there was no velvet rope, only an open door. Her accessibility blurred the critical line between fan and friend. Each innocent detail she shared, a favorite cafe, a glimpse of a package's shipping label, was a breadcrumb. Trusting the parasocial family she'd built, she shared what most keep private. She believed her vulnerability was her strength, forgetting the internet is an open arena. This misplaced trust, born from a desire for connection, set the stage for a terrifying fall. The platforms that amplify a voice are also a trap. The algorithms that reward authenticity demand ever more personal exposure, imprisoning creators within their own brand. Digital fame isn't a prize, it's a high-stakes game played without a rulebook. For Morgan, the game was about to turn deadly. One fan's perceived friendship had curdled into a dangerous obsession. The open invitation into her life had been accepted by someone who believed he had a right to be there. This story of love turned obsession would end not with a thank you, but with the cold click of handcuffs. In the chaotic sea of comments, one name stood out: Leo Thelion 92. He wasn't just first to comment, his long, thoughtful analyses showed he was truly listening. When trolls attacked, he was her fiercest defender. This dedicated support felt like a beacon. Soon his support moved from public comments to private DMs. The conversation quickly shifted from her content to her personal life. He asked about her mood, her day, remembering small details she'd mentioned weeks ago, making her feel uniquely seen and cared for. He suggested they move to a more private channel like Discord to protect their conversations. In this new, intimate space, the dynamic shifted entirely. They discovered shared vulnerabilities, and he quickly became more than a fan. He felt like a kindred spirit. The friendship soon blossomed into romance. Late-night messages turned flirty, then intimate. Compliments about her work evolved into confessions about his feelings. "I think I'm falling for you," he wrote one night. Caught up in the rush, she found herself falling too. Texting gave way to marathon phone calls that stretched for hours, bleeding late into the night. His voice became a real and tangible comfort, the soundtrack to her daily life. He was a constant presence, woven into the very fabric of her routine. The physical distance between them created a vacuum for idealization. Unburdened by real-world complexities, he was the perfect boyfriend, always supportive, endlessly attentive. They were building a fantasy, each falling in love with a curated version of the other that could only exist online. He insisted they keep their relationship a secret, framing it as a way to protect their special connection from outside judgment. So she hid him from everyone. They existed in a private bubble where the soft light of romance made it easy to ignore the glaring red flags. The I love yous felt momentous and true, quickly followed by concrete plans to close the distance. They dreamed of a future together in her city, with him packing his bags to start a new life with her. The fantasy felt tantalizingly close, but a fundamental imbalance defined their relationship. He knew her from hundreds of hours of videos, her home, her habits, her personality. She, however, only knew the man he presented in text. It was a one-way intimacy, where she was fully exposed while he remained a shadow. The most glaring red flag was one she continually rationalized. Despite the declarations of love, she had never seen his face in real time. Every request for a video call was met with an excuse: a broken camera, a bad connection. She chose to believe him. She hadn't fallen in love with a man, but with a persona. She fell for the attentive comments and the comforting voice, the character of Leo the Lion. In her desire for connection, she mistook a username for a person and gave her heart to a stranger. Jealousy surfaced. He fixated on collaborations and questioned her replies to others. If she didn't respond quickly, messages became accusations. Support turned into surveillance. He wanted proof, time, and her full attention. The first request was small: rent help from someone she trusted. Then more asks: a new computer to support her, a family emergency, all urgent, all convincing. Over months, thousands flowed out, love blinding her to patterns of exploitation. He refused every video chat. Excuses stacked up. She loved a picture, not a person she could confirm. The inconsistency glared, and she looked away. Then came the message. He was moving. Not asking, telling. What felt safe on a screen turned threatening in the real world. At the first hesitation, charm vanished and control took its place. He threatened to leak their private chats, the confessions, the I love yous, unless she complied. What began as help turned into hush money. He leaked selective screenshots to a drama channel, painting her as deceitful and manipulative. #Unstoppable Morgan is over party trended. Love flipped to fury in hours. Her careful apology, vague to hide extortion, poured fuel on the fire. Subscribers dropped, sponsors pulled out, the studio went dark. She stopped streaming, stopped posting, trapped by a feed of hate. Digging through transfers with a friend's help, she realized Leo was a con artist with fake personas. Instead of police, she set a trap, creating a fake identity, using stolen images and illicit tracking methods. Law enforcement investigating the con artist traced illegal activity back to her address. The sun streamed into Morgan's studio as she prepped for her morning stream, ready to greet the fans who knew her as Unstoppable Morgan. But that morning, the familiar ping of a new subscriber was replaced by a firm, official knock. It wasn't a delivery. It was the abrupt end of her digital world. On her own doorstep, the persona of Unstoppable Morgan crumbled. Bodycam footage shows a confused Morgan Thompson being placed in handcuffs as officers listed the charges: wire fraud, aggravated identity theft, and conspiracy to commit extortion. The woman who built an empire on authenticity was accused of masterminding a campaign of deceit. In court, the prosecution laid out the sordid affair. Digital forensics, chat logs, and victim testimony painted a picture far darker than simple donation fraud. It was a sophisticated scam where Morgan and an accomplice would identify vulnerable fans, gain their trust, and then use personal information to blackmail them for thousands. The accomplice, a man named David Miller, known online as Leo the Lion 92, was also apprehended. Miller was the technical architect, weaponizing the information Morgan gathered. While Morgan was the face, Miller was the engine, a shadowy figure who manipulated her just as they manipulated their fans. He faced even more severe charges. Morgan's defense argued she was also a victim, but it didn't erase her complicity. The judge acknowledged the complexity, but held her accountable as an active participant. The verdict: 5 years of probation, 1,000 hours of community service, and a staggering fine coupled with restitution payments that ensured her financial ruin. Her channel was permanently deleted by the platform, a digital ghost town. Her career as a content creator was over, her name synonymous with scandal. Her savings were seized for legal fees and restitution. Her reputation, once her most valuable asset, was irrevocably shattered, replaced by a legacy of betrayal. Morgan's story forces us to confront the blurred line between a supportive fan and a parasocial dependency. Her mistake wasn't appreciating her fans but exploiting the illusion of intimacy for gain. This is a critical lesson. Creators must establish clear boundaries, emotional boundaries to avoid becoming unqualified therapists, and access boundaries to protect their private lives. Fans must be skeptical of private DMs and understand the curated nature of online personas. The connections may feel real, but as Morgan's story proves, the consequences of misplaced trust are devastatingly real and permanent.